Hi, I'm Islam. Today I read story The Dinosaur Next Door.
Osborne Young Reading Series 1 The Dinosaurs Next Door. Chapter 1 Mr. Buff. Mr. Buff lived in a tall blue house. Outside, it looked a little odd. Inside, it was even stranger. Mr. Buff was an inventor. His whole house was crammed with amazing inventions. His latest invention moved him from place to place in an instant. Before that, he invented a robot to clean up spills. And before that, he invented the wheelie cup, but it spilled most of his tea, which was why he invented the robot. His new project wasn't an invention at all, but it was so exciting he had asked Sam, his friend from next door, to see it. Sam had promised to come over after school. Chapter 2 The Eggs. At last, come in. When Sam arrived, Mr. Buff was bursting with excitement. He led Sam to his study and dived under a table. They have to be kept in the dark until the last moment. With a smile, Mr. Buff came out with a basket. Eggs, said Sam, looking at the 4 big eggs. These aren't just any old eggs, said Mr. Buff. They're dinosaur eggs. What? Cried Sam. But dinosaurs died out zillions of years ago. How? Where? Mr. Buff looked mysterious. Oh, they were to pay me for an invention, he said. Just then, the blue spotted egg began to jiggle and jump and bump in the basket. A crack appeared, zigzagging along the shell, then another and another, until finally a little green head burst out. Wow! Said Sam. The creature stared at Sam. Sam stared back. Isn't it wonderful? Said Mr. Buff. It's unbelievable! It's fantastic! But is it a dinosaur? Said Sam. Was it possible? It did look like a dinosaur. As they watched, the other eggs began to jiggle and jump and bump in the basket. Their shells shattered. The eggs had hatched. The baby dinosaurs were very lively. They looked around, making excited squeaks. I expect they're hungry, said Mr. Buff. What do dinosaurs eat? Let me go home for my dinosaur book, said Sam and raced off. Soon he was back. That one looks like ours, said Sam. He pointed to a blue dinosaur with red spikes on its head. That one eats meat then, said Mr. Buff. But some dinosaurs only eat plants. They weren't sure what sort of dinosaurs the others were, so Sam put out a large plate of cat food and a large plate of salad just in case. It's my dinner time too, said Sam. I have to go, but I'll be back. I must be the only person with dinosaurs next door. Chapter 3 Bigger and Bigger. Over the next 3 days, Mr. Buff watched the dinosaurs. He watched them grow and grow and grow. By day 4, he had to invent an extra long ruler to measure them all. By the 5th day, he was worried. They're getting fierce. They just keep growing, he told Sam. Can't you invent something to stop them? Sam asked. That's it, cried Mr. Buff. He ran up to his dark, dusty attic. A tissue! And came back with a silver box on wheels. A yellow hose sat coiled like a snake on top. What is it? Asked Sam. This is my size O machine, Mr. Puff said proudly. "It makes things shrink or grow." "Perfect," said Sam. "Does it work?" "Of course it works," said Mr. Puff. "Ready, steady, fire!" Chapter 4. Kaboom! "Oops! Ah, it's huge! Oh dear!" said Mr. Puff. "Something must be wrong." He peered inside the machine. "Ah!" he said. "I had my wires crossed. Try now, Sam." Sam picked up the hose. "Ready, steady, fire!" said Mr. Puff. Kaboom! The dinosaur vanished. "Where has it gone?" asked Mr. Puff. "Did I shrink it too much?" Sam looked down the hose. "Careful!" said Mr. Puff. "I don't want you shrinking too." They shrank one dinosaur in the kitchen. Another was outside having a snack. "Ready, steady, fire!" said Mr. Puff. But where was the last dinosaur? Just then, they heard a crash from the bathroom. "Ready, steady, fire!" said Mr. Puff. But as Sam took aim, he slipped. The hose flew from his hands. Kaboom! Chapter 5. Shrunk. "Fantastic! It works on people too!" Starry smoke filled the room. When it cleared, Sam was in shock. He was smaller than the bottle of bath oil. "It shrunk us as well as the dinosaur," began Sam. He heard a roar behind him. "Run!" "I don't think it wants you to brush its teeth." Suddenly, the dinosaur looked at the door. Sam and Mr. Puff dived for cover. The dinosaur should have hidden too. "If we could just distract it." Mr. Puff's cat was coming. She took one look at the dinosaur and chased it away. "I always said she was a clever cat." "Quick!" said Mr. Puff. "We must change to our normal size before that dinosaur comes back." First, they had to move the dial. Sam pushed. Mr. Puff pulled. It was hard work. Then they dragged the hose into place. By now, they were exhausted. "Everything's hard when you're this small," Sam panted. "Cheer up," said Mr. Puff. "We just have to turn it on." But they couldn't shift the lever. "I hope we don't break it," said Sam. Mr. Puff didn't have any puff to say anything. They climbed off the machine. What were they going to do? Chapter 6. Cat to the Rescue. Just then, the cat jumped up onto the size O machine. The lever moved. Kaboom! Clouds of smoke filled the room. Sam and Mr. Puff started to grow and grow and grow. They were back to normal at last. "Now, what are those dinosaurs up to?" said Mr. Puff. The dinosaurs were running all over the house. Sam tried to help catch them. The dinosaurs thought it was a game. "Got you!" cried Mr. Puff as he scooped up the blue dinosaur. "Phew! They're worse than puppies. What am I going to do with them?" Thinking of puppies gave Sam an idea. "If you can train dogs, why not dinosaurs?" "Brilliant!" said Mr. Puff. "And then maybe you'd like one as a pet. They're very sweet." "Thank you," Sam said, "but I'd rather just visit them sometimes. I think I prefer my dinosaurs in books." Sam never told anyone about the dinosaurs next door or his narrow escape. But whenever he saw Mr. Puff's cat, he always took out a saucer of milk to thank her.
The Billy Goat's Gruff. Chapter 1. On the Farm. Once upon a time, 3 billy goats lived on a farm in the shadow of a mountain. They were brothers, and their last name was Gruff.
We're the Gruff brothers.
Beanie was the youngest. He was small and skinny, always hungry, and always in trouble.
Watch out!
Bertie was the middle brother.
26, 27,
He was crazy
28,
about sports.
29, 30, beat my record.
Oops. Biffer was the oldest. He was big and strong and looked after his brothers. Stop fighting, you two.
Yeah, whatever. Isn't it great?
Chapter 2. Time to go. One winter, there was very little food on the farm,
I'm so hungry.
moaned Beanie.
I've only eaten a piece of hay today.
Fibber, said Bertie.
I saw you at the clothesline earlier. You ate 2 socks and a shirt. Clothes don't count.
Biffer was worried. I think it's time we made a move, he said. We'll starve if we stay here,
Where will we go?
asked Beanie. To the juicy fields beyond the hills, Biffer replied. No one lives there, so we'll have plenty of food. We just have to cross the rushing river. Bertie looked terrified.
We can't go over the river.
He cried.
That's where the terrible troll lives. He's got eyes like saucers and a nose as long as a poker. He's huge and green,
said Beanie.
He'll gobble us up.
Don't be silly, Biffer said. There's no such thing as trolls. That's farmyard talk. Just think of the juicy fields. Chapter 3. Setting off. The Billy Goat's Gruff spent a week preparing for their adventure. Biffer found an old map to show them the way. A goat's guide to the mountainside. Farm, dark forest, rushing river, bridge. Legend says a troll lives here. Hills, juicy fields, mountains. Then Beanie and Bertie had to learn to climb up hills. Beanie was better at coming down. After a few days, they were both excellent climbers. Look at me!
Show off.
Finally, the brothers had to pack for their journey. Things we need: map, compass, hay, water, ball. At last, the Billy Goat's Gruff were ready to set off. All the other farm animals came to say goodbye. Good luck.
Good luck. Bye, Beanie. Don't forget us.
The younger animals wanted to go too, but the older ones shook their heads.
Let's hope they make it past the bridge,
They muttered. Chapter 4. Into the forest. Bertie and Beanie were still dreaming of the juicy fields as they left the farm. Ahead of them loomed the dark forest.
I'm not sure I want to go in there,
said Beanie. We'll be fine, said Biffer, as long as we stick together.
What's that thudding noise?
It's Bertie's ball. The billy goats trotted along the path. The only sound was the tap-tap-tapping of their hooves on the forest floor. Suddenly, a thick mist swirled around them.
I can hardly see my feet.
Beanie Beanie shivered.
I don't like this forest. It's spooky,
He said.
Do you think there might be ghosts here?
Yes, said Bertie with a grin. Lots of ghosts, and more than anything, ghosts like scaring little billy goats.
Ooh. Ah!
Shut up, Bertie, said Biffa sternly. Stop scaring Beanie. The billy goats walked on in silence.
Biffa,
Beanie said after a while. Yes, Beanie?
I think someone's following us. Listen.
The billy goats stopped and listened. They strained their ears and heard a thumping sound. It grew louder with every second.
Oh no!
Shrieked Beanie.
Look behind us!
A strange shape was coming down the path, and it was heading straight for them.
It's a ghost!
Run! cried Bertie.
Run for your lives!
Before Biffa could stop them, Beanie and Bertie had raced off down the path. We've got to stick together! Come back! Biffa shouted.
It's not a ghost, it's a...
Biffa waited as the shape slowly appeared out of the mist.
It's only a rabbit!
He said.
Don't be so rude. I'm not only a rabbit, said the rabbit. I'm a rare breed of tall, lop-eared rabbit, and my name is Buffy.
I'm Biffa. Nice to meet you, said Biffa quickly. But I must find my brothers before they get lost. Sorry, no time to chat.
Where are you going?
Buffy asked. To the juicy fields, by the mountains, Biffa called, running after his brothers.
Watch out for the troll!
Buffy shouted after him. Biffa didn't hear. He had already headed deeper into the forest.
Oh dear, no one's ever made it past the troll.
Chapter 5. Tricking the Troll. Meanwhile, Bertie was wandering alone through the forest.
Hello? Anyone there?
He had lost Beanie in the mist, and he didn't know which way to go. Beanie had been luckier. He had found the path that ran straight through the forest.
Phew! That was close. I can't wait to get to the juicy fields,
Beanie thought as he headed to the river. The only way to cross the rushing river was over a little wooden bridge. Next to the bridge was a big wooden sign. Warning, goats beware.
I wish I could read,
thought Beanie. His hooves went clippity-clop over the bridge. But as he reached the middle of the river, a large green hand smashed through the wooden planks and grabbed Beanie's leg. Beanie screamed.
Help!
Who's that going over my bridge?
Roared a terrible voice.
I'm coming to gobble you up.
Let go!
Beanie's eyes bulged with terror. There, crouched under the bridge, was a fat and warty troll.